Nobody ever thought I would join the Army. They were like, "You're such a girly girl. How are you going to join the Army?" But I did.
Keli joined the Army in 1994.
By the time the war started in 2003, I was already promoted to a first lieutenant. I mean, the war started literally when we got off the plane. So when we were flying in, we were under attack. And I remember running to a bunker and trying to get some safety, and when I got there, it was completely filled with people. And they were all staring at me like, "Really? We are not about to move for you." And that was just the beginning. I was pretty much in fear for the rest of the year.
While en route to their destination in Al-Naziriyah, Keli's convoy could not avoid one of the worst sandstorms in Iraq's history.
It was like something out of Revelations, a sandstorm of biblical proportions. I had never seen anything like it. In fact, they said that it was historical. It was one of the largest sandstorms in Iraqi history, and there we were in our convoy, stuck in the sandstorm. We couldn't breathe, and we were like guppies gasping for breath out of water. And I literally thought I was going to die. I had accepted death and figured this is the way I was going to go out. This is what was going to happen to Keli. And it wasn't going to be ceremonious, and it wasn't going to be under fire, and there weren't going to be any medals, but I had accepted death. And right about the time I accepted my fate, the storm cleared. But we weren't out of the woods yet. We still had a long way to go. And it seemed like about a few minutes before we got back on the road again that Saddam's army ambushed us, and we came under heavy fire. All I remember is the fear melting away and silence. I just looked out the window. I was literally firing with my left hand instead of my right. I'm right-handed, and I just took as many uncalculated shots as I possibly could. All I could hear was the pounding of my heart in my chest and the sound of my breath on my weapon.
71% of female military personnel develop PTSD due to sexual assault within the ranks.
It wasn't too long after we reached our camp and we had finally settled in that a senior non-commissioned officer raped me in the tent. And it was the end of my life, as far as I knew it. This was the same person that swore he would protect me while we were out there, and yet he had hurt me. He had hurt me like no one had ever hurt me before.
Keli went on to serve another tour in Iraq in 2009. She arrived just 2 days before what is known as Bloody Thursday. Over 450 people were killed in coordinated suicide and car bomb attacks around Baghdad.
I was in constant fear in Baghdad. Every single day there were bombings. Some of them were little and only a few people were killed. Some of them were large and hundreds of people were killed. But I didn't go a day without thinking, I'm next. Like, just constant fear.
Keli injured her back during her last tour in Iraq. Her spine is now completely fused and held together with metal rods and pins.
I had to will myself to walk again. But I'm very grateful I still have my arms and legs.
Keli is now retired Major Keli Chevalier. She is 90% disabled.
I still wake up every single morning at 4 a.m. I have to convince myself to get out of bed. I call it an error 404 because it's somewhere around 4:04 every single morning that I have to have a conversation with God, and God has to tell me exactly what it is I need to do that day, and I have to convince myself to get up, get dressed, get out, and go do it.
PTSD affects 1 out of 10 women. It can be debilitating.
I hate thunderstorms. And it was crazy, but one time I had a friend come over and she doesn't really know my history, and there was a thunderstorm when I was walking her to the front door. And right when we got to the door, it was boom! And I literally had to duck behind the wall and like talk myself down and feel safe again before I could even tell her goodbye. And it was so embarrassing, but it's the same way with fireworks on the 4th of July. Driving in traffic is so hard for me that I have positioned myself in the city to work every day so that I can completely avoid it.
Memory loss is another effect of PTSD.
So this is my memory board, and this is where I keep notes to myself that tell me the major things I have to do. Like I have to remember that my son has tutorials on Wednesdays, and so I pick him up a little bit later, and I remind myself of, like doctor's appointments, and just, got to pick up my glasses, and that way I can kind of track the major things that I have to do from day to day. So in the morning when I'm getting dressed, I get dressed in here and I write positive notes to myself, so when I wake up in the morning I see something positive to keep me going. So I write things like, stay in God's will, you will find the hidden treasures of the world, be who God made you, and the world will conspire to make all your dreams come true. So I change these out, but I keep something positive around me so I can keep going through my day.
Now Keli is the founder of Trauma to Triumph, a nonprofit that provides counseling, job placement, and transitional housing to female veterans with PTSD. She speaks to groups around the nation about the 3 steps she believes can overcome any fear. Get up, get dressed, get out, and brings awareness to PTSD in women to the public.
So I know it's weird, but I, for some reason, cannot let go of my uniforms. I mean, it's almost like I think the Army's gonna call me back up one day, or I don't know. It's just crazy, I guess, but I still have all my uniforms and they're still hanging up just in case Uncle Sam needs me.